Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. As everyone's aware, there was a major disaster in Libya with the death count currently, unofficially, by the way, is in excess of 40,000 individuals that have died and lost their lives, and many that have been displaced and their homes have just been lost. The disaster was there's the dam which was holding back the water, and then there was a huge there was the rainfall. The dam collapsed and it caused major devastation along the route of the valley. So the valley basically does a dog leg, but obviously the flood of water didn't follow the dog leg. It just took everything out and its left and right. So it was a huge disaster. Some places, like the masjid, remains. So there's some miracles that we're seeing there where Allah protected some places. But subhanAllah, it was they had huge need for aid there. There was the routes coming into Derna for a while, for a few days after, they were also flooded. They was running out of stock on everything, so they needed food, they needed medicine, they needed clothes. So it was definitely very vital that people got there very quickly and helped. So alhamdulillah, we managed to get there in time within that first period. I think we were one of the first convoys from the UK actually to send aid there. So the way we did it really is we bought all of the products and the requirements of medicine, clothes, water as well, because all of the water sources were contaminated in Derna. So we got bottled water, we took baby meal powder, basically, nappies for different ages, also nappies for adults who are in need, and medicine. We took lots of medicine as well, different types. So we purchased that all locally from Tripoli. We loaded that onto a big 20-foot lorry and a smaller refrigerated van for the medicines. And we set off from Tripoli effectively to Derna. It's been packed now, containers are packed, medicines are packed, and we're just about to set off now, inshallah. Normally that journey would take about 12 hours. It took us about 40 hours and with just the normal pit stops, but alhamdulillah, it was a successful aid convoy, which it got to the places that needed it. We have now commenced our journey. We're en route to Derna now via Misrata. Sure, so absolutely right. There was a lot of logistical issues with getting the aid to exactly where it was needed. One of the first hurdles was actually getting through the Derna border and with all of your convoy intact, because you had checkpoints of the military who some individuals, not everyone's an honest individual, some wanted to take the stuff on and sell it. So really I was very aware of this, and I'm originally from Derna, so my family are from Derna. So even though I lived in Tripoli, but all of my relatives effectively are in Derna, and they were telling us these stories. They were telling us that there's a risk that the aid wouldn't get to the needed places. So I was adamant that I had to be with a convoy to escort it all the way. And the way it works is Derna is split with a valley, which is the cause of the devastation, and all of the bridges along that valley were also swept with the tide. So what happened was anyone and the road that get you to the east of Derna was flooded. So the only entrance into Derna at the time was through the west entrance. So all of the aid coming into Derna was ending up in the west, going to the West Hospital and restocking all of the shops, etc., in the west. So all of my relatives were telling me that in Derna that the east was not getting any aid. So I was aware of exactly where logistically we needed to end up, and that's basically why I was adamant I needed to be there. Due to the contacts that we had inside and knowing the local kind of situation at the time. Yeah, it was very interesting, and alhamdulillah, it was all from Allah. Planned it all, because we had a plan. As we set off, I'd made all the contact points of contact in Derna. So we were initially intending to meet with the scouts and the Red Crescent at the border, and they were going to take us to the distribution points, and we were going to offload with them. As it transpires, later I found out that actually all of the scouts and the Red Crescent, their bases are actually in the west side of Derna, which would have just been the wrong place because that's where everyone ends up. So the east would have still been without it. So subhanallah, as we were coming to Benghazi, which is about 6 hours away from Derna, we got the news that all of communication had been cut in Derna. Whether it was a technical error or whatever, but we weren't able to get it hold of anyone in Derna, that we, whether it was the scouts, my relatives there, or the Red Crescent, everyone's phone was off. So it was a major decision, and I was getting calls from my family in Tripoli telling me that they can't get hold of anyone in Derna, and it might be worth turning around because there was a risk that you might not get it to where it's needed, or you might not even be able to enter Derna at that point. So alhamdulillah, we made the decision to just proceed. And as we got into Derna, this was where Allah basically took over all of the plan, and subhanallah, Allah is the best of planners, because as we entered at the gate at the border of Derna, I was met by the military at this point, and they were trying to put a few hurdles in our way with all the checks and balances that they had in place, paperwork, etc. Just at the Hilal al-Ahmar, we finished the paperwork, just waiting for it to get sealed and stamped, and inshallah we will be heading away from Misrata now onwards, inshallah. This is the final step, inshallah, before we've got all of the documentations that we need. But I was adamant that we just needed to get this medicine to the hospital, because obviously it's difficult to maintain the right temperature. Libya is very hot, so we needed to get this stuff in storage as soon as possible. So I said to him, you either, and then I noticed that he was trying to get us to take it to the military storage as well, which is a bit scary because obviously it's a responsibility that we had to get it to the right place. So I was adamant, and I said to him, no, you have to either get us a van from the hospital and we will help them escort it, or just let us go in. And I know at that time of night it was almost impossible for him to get someone from the hospital to come. So alhamdulillah, we were only waiting there for about 20 minutes before he gave us the permission to enter. So at this point it was about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. Everything was dark. It was difficult to, and without any communication, no telephone communication with anyone. So alhamdulillah, we proceeded to enter, not knowing anything, not knowing where to go, where the points that need it, etc. Subhanallah, the only thing I knew was the name of my relative and the name of their neighborhood, and so I wasn't going to leave it with the aid with anyone else. So I met this young boy. I saw him walking down the street. He was about 19 years old, 18 years old. I saw him walking, and we spoke. We stopped. We spoke to him. We said to him, "Do you know this family? These in this area?" He said, "Oh, that's across the other side of the valley," which there's no way to get to because obviously all of the bridges were cut. So he said you can either get back out of Derna and go around Derna, which is about a 70-kilometer journey with the roads all flooded, or you have to try and cross the valley somehow else. He said there's a bridge that they're just building temporarily at the moment, but they haven't opened it yet. He said we might as well go and give that a go. So we drove down these dirt tracks and we found a military checkpoint. He got out of the lorry and he spoke to the military there, and they literally just moved their trucks out of the way and let us through. And he was honestly, when he entered the truck, he was just as if he'd like seen a miracle in front of him. He goes, I was not expecting them to let us through, but we managed to get the lorry and the refrigerated van over this makeshift bridge, which was made out of pipes, industrial pipes. So we managed to cross, and that bridge, we would have been the first people to have crossed it because it's still not open. And keeping in mind, we were there for a few days after, we were not allowed to cross that bridge again after. So it was just literally, they gave us that concession, but for the rest of the days that I was there, it was still out of bounds. You still couldn't access it. But it was nighttime, so as we were approaching this bridge now, this temporary bridge, because it's on the valley, all you could see is the devastation, and it was truly difficult to witness because it's still new, still fresh, and you could, when we got out of the van just to take a few pictures, which you may have seen or not, that I sent back, you could just almost like you can smell the death in the air, because obviously all of the rubble still hadn't had a chance to kind of excavate and take corpses out. So still we were stood on top of basically a graveyard effectively, and so it was very difficult. It was but we crossed that temporary bridge, and we're now in the east side of town, which is basically the most in need.
We have arrived in Derna, and the scenery is so upsetting. Look what we have here. Some of the building completely collapsed. We've been told that there's corpses, bodies just filling the ground here. You've got the Masjid of the Sahaba there. You can see it in the background. And then this is going down to the sea here. Down here, you've got it going down to the sea, and you can see the extent of the damage.
We drove around and we were asking locals, where's this family there, and we eventually found my relative's house, who welcomed us. They were so hospitable, and they welcomed the whole team, the driver and the aid workers, and we stayed the night there. And one of my cousins there, he was a doctor who works in the Eastern hospital, and he took the medicine with us to the storage. We put it all there. I personally assisted in putting, so I was very content with knowing that it got to the right place.
We're offloading the products now into the main hospital here, inshallah. We've taken them from our stores at the school and now just putting it in the stores in the hospital where they're immediately required, inshallah. That's all. Allah tawfiq. I pray that Allah accepts from everyone that's involved and it reaches those. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullahu kull khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Honestly, he was saying that none of the aid was getting to them. All of it was just ending in that side, at that side, if it was even reaching, because a lot of it was being actually taken by military, etc. So alhamdulillah, we managed to get there. And one of my other cousins, he owns a private school. It's a nursery or a primary school, which was out of operation at the time because of the events that were happening. So he opened it up for us. We emptied a classroom. We emptied the rest of the goods, which was from beddings to milk to water. We put it all, we unloaded it all into that school, and we distributed it from there. We used that as our distribution point. We opened it up for the public for the first day. Lots of people who were urgently in need of water or bedding or clothes, and we had nappies, baby milk, etc. They all came. But when we noticed that it was now the footfall was dying, or like we were getting repeat people, we closed the doors and we started actually loading our cars, my cousin's cars and uncle's cars. And we were just going to houses of families that they knew were, they had like 6 or 7 families all huddled into one house, into one flat. So there were stories that I actually witnessed. We went to houses where it'd be like a 2-3 bedroom flat with about 6 families in it, with 50 individuals living in there, without water, without heating. So it was it was very difficult to actually see. But we would go to, and we would distribute envelopes of money as well. The zakat, the welfare, Wise Welfare had zakat envelopes for distribution, which I was personally responsible for handing over to families that needed it. So alhamdulillah, I think it was a very successful aid mission, and I feel like it definitely went to the right places. And alhamdulillah, we also, as a result, developed very reliable and honest points of contact through that. So whereas I would have previously used the Red Crescent and the Scouts to take care of the distribution, we actually ended up creating a network with those individuals that we used with a private school and the hospital doctor. So now since I've returned to the UK, there's been a few more convoys that left Tripoli to go to Derna, using through Wise Welfare, etc. and they actually used the same points. So they were also distributed from the same private school. They were and they were also given to the same hospital. Subhanallah. So it was amazing, because that's definitely not what we planned, but it turned out to be a lot better than what we had arranged. Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. وَمَا التَّوْفِيقُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. يعني the success is from none other than Allah. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I think it's important to note that without the donations and contributions from the very generous community here in the UK and in High Wycombe and elsewhere who donate to Wise Welfare, I think none of this would be possible, and we wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to help people in such remote parts of the world. And Darna, if you've never been, it is in such a remote part of the world. Even in Libya, it's like at the very far near the border to Egypt. So alhamdulillah, I think even a lot of people from Libya were struggling to get there, yet we were from the UK and we were helping these people. So I think it's truly amazing work that we're doing, and without the help and the contributions and the donations from these people, definitely none of this would have been possible. So alhamdulillah. And if I was to ask anything, or if I was to make a request, is for these people, alhamdulillah, to continue to contribute and continue to donate and continue to support Wise Welfare and the work they do around the whole world, because honestly, they have no idea how much of an impact they're having on people's lives. I know it's sometimes you can be a bit distant from the ground because you're just giving money and you get distracted with other aspects of your life. But really, when you see how those donations are impacting the individuals on the ground, subhanallah, I just wish that they continue to do that for their own benefit, because this is going to benefit them in the akhirah. So I pray that Allah accepts from them, and I pray that Allah gives them the success and the divine facilitation to continue to support and aid and help and give the sadaqah and the zakah to Wise Welfare, as you guys are doing amazing work. Allahumma barik.